I was 16. Next year I'd graduate. I was going to college. I practically owned this dam. I'd see everyone. I hated working at McDonald's. You know, the usual 16-year-old spy. I no longer felt the need to rush into my first period as if I were being pursued by wolves. Instead, I lingered in the hallway with other relaxed juniors and seniors, made fun of confused freshmen, and actually made eye contact with the teachers. This newfound skip in my step was what led me to cutting the first period bell very close. As I whipped at my shirt with a wet paper towel in the bathroom, someone had dripped on the bus and gotten what I prayed was iced coffee on it. The stain did not look like it was coming out. It hadn't brought a jacket. I groaned, balled up the paper towel, and shanked it at the garbage. I miss it, of course. As I knelt down to pick up through the thick bathroom walls, I heard the distant crackle of the loudspeaker. Were they starting morning announcement earlier this year? Maybe. Someone had parked in a teacher's spot again. Lockdown, lockdown, lockdown. I was more caught off guard by the fact that it sounded like a secretary was making the announcement than anything else. Only after a movement or two did it sink in. This wasn't real. I stood there completely motionless, wondering what the hell I was supposed to do. Finally, I lunged towards the door and yanked it open, peering out into the hall. Every door was shut. I was on the second floor. I thought I heard distant yelling from below. My panic began to settle into a slow, cold fear that pulled in the pit of my stomach and spread down my leg. I darted back into the bathroom, trying to rationalize things myself. Maybe I'd measured it and it was just a drill. I tried to remember how the woman on the loudspeaker had sounded. Had she been frightened, forced, calm? I didn't know. The not knowing was the worst part. The pulse had to be on the away. It was real. I assured myself so long as I stayed put, everything would be fine. What potential school shooter was going to check the bathroom? That said, I ran to the lost stall, the one for the people with wheelchairs. I scrambled up on the toilet. Should I look to the stall door? No, there was no point. If they did come, it'd be obvious someone was there then. What if they somehow saw me through the small space in the door? Could I somehow wriggle on the ground from one stall to the next, finding them? By this point, I was slightly hysterical, but I know in the back of my mind, like you always know in these situations, if they did come in here, I would probably die. Ridiculously enough, I began preparing my last lines. What I would say. Should I plead with them? What if it was someone I knew? Maybe I could talk to them down, but I couldn't even convince myself. Never mind someone already mythical. Should I try to be the hero and go for the gun, right, and get shot in the face? Perhaps I could stall them. Stall them? I started to laugh. I didn't know why. I was shaking, crouched on my grimy public high school toilet seat, literally laughing about putty humor. My manic shackles faded into harsh breathing. I concentrated on my knees. I told myself I wouldn't look it up, no matter what happened. I thought I heard a loud noise from down the hall. I finished, although I had no idea what if it had been. I tried to still my breathing and only succeeded in feeling faint. And then I heard footsteps. Maybe it was a car, I told myself weakly. The footsteps drew nearly, echoing hollowly on the tiled floor of the school. It hadn't been raised to be particularly religious. Right then, there I started to make bargains. I didn't care if I got shot so long as it didn't kill me or paralyze me. Actually, that may be worse. I just wanted to go home. If whoever was in charge of this shit. Just made sure I got home. I do whatever the hell they said to me for the rest of my life. Maybe they didn't have a gun. Maybe it was a knife. Maybe I could get out of this with a few nasty scares and story. The door opened and I went blank. I'm not sure how to describe it. I was there and yet not there at all. I felt completely removed the entire event. I was there in the start, yeah, but also wasn't like maybe it didn't really matter that much either way. Like I was point of it for a fleeting second. I wondered if I'd collapsed and died of fright. I knew they were there. I heard them. The first door swung open with a groan, as did the second. I tried to close my eyes and found I couldn't. My eyelid refused to cooperate. Third stall, I was convinced I could hear them breathing. I wondered what they were thinking. Were they excited? Could they hear my breathing? God, I thought, don't let be someone I know. Fourth stall, the loudspeakers crackled down. The lockdown is now completed. The student and the staff thank you for your cooperation. I heard them pause and I heard them leave the bathroom. Door swinging quietly shut behind them. I didn't leave that star for another 5 minutes. My first period, teacher wasn't very annoyed. I didn't really care. I told him what had happened. He called the vice principal down. I told her what had happened. She seemed skeptical. I never heard any more about it. There was no evidence of anyone having gone in the bathroom during the go down, aside from what I claimed, but someone had been in there with me. They were being so close to finding me, that I was certain it hadn't been a drill. My school has no lunch periods. First lunch period is for all 6 grades. And some 7th grades, the second lunch period is for the other half of the 7th grades. And all of a sudden, the lockdown happened in the first day of October. It was a rainy day and there a creepy lockdown just starting, feeling all the pupils during the French lunch period. I heard 4 loud bombs. I thought it was just a sound coming from one of the pupils' speakers to scare other kids. Then suddenly I was thinking those kids were just serious when the pupils were in the line to buy lunch by one. The campus security came in a sudden and started yelling at all the people in school, telling them to go into the multi-purpose room. All the pupils started throwing out their lunch and came inside. Me and my friends went inside the room, along with a huge group of kids. Everyone was curious as to what was happening. Our multipurpose room is huge, and the back of the walls of the room is made of faded black glass, so we can see what was happening when me and my friends we rushed inside. The campus security was covering the glass with curtains, and there were adults at every exit. My friend Sam was curious, as well as the rest of us, so he asked one of the adults what was going on. When he came back, he said, "You know how right in front of the TMS there is those houses?" I replied, "Yeah, there is this mentally disabled insane man that he was winning himself in front of his wife and in front of his house, and he's threatening to commit suicide and kill the police if he evicted. He was walking around outside of school, watching kids in a weird way." Sam told us it turned out the man was also registered sex offender, making matters worse and worse. We were stuck in the multipurpose room for a whole hour, taking up 2 periods after the whole thing was stopped. We were allowed to go to our classroom one by one. Later found out that the man lives next to my friend Jack, who told me about the previous Halloween when she saw the same man at his Halloween cutting his leg and writing with it on the wall, "Don't come here or I will kill you," on his wall. After hearing that, me and my friends were glad that this wasn't new for us while the terrifying scene was happening. Hi guys, before we move to the last story, please consider subscription. It was a boring day in school, in the last lesson at the end of the weekend, so everybody was bored in their seats and just everyone wants to go out from school. That day, many classes were having tests and only me and my class, we didn't have a test. So, my weird teacher in the middle of the class just decided to start playing quiz games. In the middle of the hour, we were too competitive that my friends and I were enjoying the game and catching each other. Suddenly, a sub came through the loudspeaker. He sounded panicked and frightened as he told all the teacher this is not a drill and to go into lockdown. Actually, I got to relax and I got goosebumps on my arms as our usually laid back teacher too seemed panicked as he ran off the lights and assured us to the back corner of the room. We all sat in silence for about 2 minutes and then the usual buzzing that came from a panel in the back of the room, signs indicating that the school must have cut all the power. We all looked at each other. This is a serious situation. A few minutes later, we heard a man screaming far away our class with all his power of screaming, coming down to the hallway, and suddenly 2 from our classes started screaming too loud. All my classmates became more and more scared with that screaming. The screaming got closer to the classroom. The lunatic-sounded man started banging on the locker while screaming, "I will kill everyone here, all of you." In that moment, I started saying prayers and saying goodbye to my damn life. My friend and teacher tried to calm us one by one. We all looked at each other to see our peers' reaction and surprising the banging, then moved away to our classroom door. One of the stupid girls started crying. "No way," I said. The banging on the door only grew worse and worse as the man started screaming, "Open up." 2 of the girls in class were crying out loud. Now I felt like an eternity that the man was pantomiming times at the door, but eventually he continued his way to the hallway, screaming like a mentally crazy person until it was 10 minutes of struggle, but thought I felt like a half an hour given the situation. The dean came back on the loudspeaker explaining to us the creepy situation, which was surprising for him to do. He explained that the apparently mentally unstable person entered the building and assaulted the woman sitting at the front desk, causing her to flee the building. Screaming, and the staff wasn't sure if the man was armed or not. Now, this was before the school had cameras or could afford proper security, so the school was wide open to something like that can be happening. The staff had done the sweep of all the hallways and couldn't find him, so the dean instructed the teacher to resume teaching, but to keep all doors locked, to not let any of the students leave for any reason. The most disturbing part, however, is that one of the janitors working the night shift found the man sleeping in one of the storage closets near the back end of the school, and according to rumors that were spread by my peers, sticking out of his pocket was a gun. The janitor must have done something stupid to wake him up, for example leaving the closest door open, because by the time a police officer could arrive on the scene, the man was totally gone. My entire to think me and my classmate were still wondering about the scene, and the man still has no trace or was found again, but the police still investigate with a lot of hard work.